Say, like, by the age of 30, the micro details that have happened in our lives are like so different. Like, it has made us so unique that it literally does not leave any room for any comparison. It becomes really worse when it comes down to our peers. Like, I want to share a story here with you guys. It's like how I went. We go to this nice fancy restaurant, right? Everything is cool. The music is nice. We're talking about our childhood thing and we're having fun. Order some appetizer. Food is the best. I'm loving it. We both are enjoying it. And, everything seems to be amazing. Till he started telling me about his achievements. I have psychologists say, like, by the age of 30, the micro details that have happened in our lives are like so different. Like, it has made us so unique that it literally does not leave any room for any comparison. Yet we do it with our kids from the beginning. We do it later on in our life. And it becomes really worse when it comes down to our peers. Like, I want to share a story here with you guys. It's like how I went through that and how I control it. I remember meeting one of my friend, my old childhood friend, and, we used to play together and things happened. He had some major responsibility in his family. So, he went his own direction and, I went my direction. And then, you always wonder where your friends are. Like, that's something that even you want to know where they are, and not because you want to compare yourself. You just want to kind of know where you are. It's a different story when we see them, we start comparing ourselves. But normally, we want to know our childhood friends. We want to know where they are. We had good time with them. So I always wondered where he was. And I met him some time ago. And after a long time, we decided to meet up and chat about our, childhood and things that we did and kind of stuff. So we go to this nice fancy restaurant, right? Everything is cool. The music is nice. We're talking about our childhood thing and we're having fun. Order some appetizer. Food is the best. I'm loving it. We both are enjoying it. And, everything seems to be amazing. Till he started telling me about his achievements. That is where everything that was not so fancy, that's where all of a sudden I felt my ear turning red and I felt my heartbeat going up, pumping. I could literally hear it, right? And I could feel the blood rushing through my body. And the music didn't sound that well. Like, the food was like, all of a sudden I felt extra salt in it. But I recognized the feeling. Because I've been coming through a journey. Like, I met a lot of people and successful people in my life. And then I consistently ran with this feeling. And then I had to come up with a way and figure out, like, why is it happening and how can we solve it? So I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my friend and I'm like, he's telling me, right, about all these things. But then, the way we have to realize it, like, sometimes the way we have to realize it, that we are extremely unique. Even though we are told in the society, like, for example, like maybe a few hundred years ago, there wasn't any bachelor's degree, there wasn't any matriculations, there wasn't any high schools and things like that. I mean, you go even farther. I mean, people didn't even write. Like, there's a couple of thousand years ago when you had actually you have the books and things like that actually are published. And if you go back, when the printing press came in, so you have a mass production of these books in education system. And so how do we compare? Like, how can we compare ourselves with people when the goals are so different, when the success for one person can be so different from the other, right? One person's success could be just because they wanted their kids to have the best education and all their life they spent on that. So that might be success for them, Another person wanted to be a doctor and they went and pursued that, and that might be success for them. And someone decided to go open a fries shop at the beach because they like to watch people and have nature and, around it, and they make less money and they're okay with it. So that might be success for them. So success is being content in yourself, and that is why comparison is so bad, because success for each person is different, yet we push ourselves to make the same success that other people have while not knowing what we want. The only way the comparison makes sense to me is it is supposed to be so we can compare ourselves to ourselves. So we can compare ourselves to other selves, not to the people outside us. That is the only way comparison makes sense to me. The reason why we have this planted in us, so we can see ourselves, how we were. And for that, we can go to the beginning and see who we are, right? Yeah, it's right. In the childhood, we are not aware of self-discoveries. We are not aware of self-awareness. But I do believe a time comes in our life where we start questioning and where things starts coming in from our software. The thought starts coming in that who am I, right? I need to find out, is this my strength? Is this the right direction? Is this the race is right? Am I going the right track, right? Am I sitting in the right bus? Like, am I going where I'm supposed to go? Like, our true callings, our thoughts, our voices that we hear, right? So we can use the comparison to our advantage, because in that way we will always feel content. We'll feel happy from where we started, and we can consistently improve ourselves. Versus if we compare ourselves to people with whom we have no race, and they're so different and they're so unique and they have their own way, just by comparing with them on the exterior stuff is going to cause us depression, judgment, envy. Because two people are running in two different directions, yet they keep on comparing themselves with each other. Just because the collection of the items around them, that's the definition of the success, which is absolutely absurd. It's a part, it's one part of our personality. It's just one aspect of our personality. That is not how, that's why we are not content. So content and comparison, they go hand to hand. Like the reason we can feel content is like when we compare ourselves to ourselves, and if we have really followed our success journey, versus if we have compared ourselves to others. And then what that does is it consistently, even we have achieved a lot, all of a sudden, it makes us feel like we haven't achieved anything, because we are comparing ourselves at the wrong place. And that's why, like, it starts all the way to the childhood, because we are consistently told in the families, in the peers, in the schools, and all this stuff, which basically eventually we start doing it on the outwards versus the inwards. So how can we control it, right? So I don't want you guys to forget the story. I was sitting with my friend, so all of a sudden I feel all this bump. But I'm pretty used to this feeling, because I have a lot of successful friends and things. And this guy, in fact, I was talking with, is a multimillionaire, and he made everything out of nothing. And we were just talking about it. So I started asking myself quickly this question. I'm like, am I here because I'm happy to see him, or am I here so I can see how successful I am, or if he's unsuccessful or thing. And then you have to input a command, which which is the secret to this thing, that we must recognize. See, having thoughts, we have 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. So having thought going through our mind is one thing, but processing it and allowing it to affect our emotions is a completely different scenario. So when that thought comes in, we must remind ourselves that we are not in a race. These are our friends. We are supposed to be happy for each other. We are supposed to encourage each other. There is no race. If my friends are doing well in life, I'm so happy for them. I cannot wait for them to do even better, because it's not only them, the entire generation is going that. It's a good thing. But unless we say these things to ourselves, somehow that negative bias in our mind, which has been put by the society, our family and everything, and consistent pressure from the society, that is not going to go away. We must, like, there's literally researches out there that you might want to say 7 to 8 times positive things to yourself, for every negative things that you said. So just imagine having all these negative conversations all throughout the life, and all of a sudden you have to talk positive to yourself. But we must start at some point. We consistently must talk to ourselves that how blessed we are, that we are not in a race, that we have no comparison, that these are our friends, these are our colleagues. We all grow, walk in a group. Each person is looking for their own goal and destination, while we all move in a flock. So there's no, there's no straight trajectory to life. So we must, at some point, once we start realizing it, we must start going into self-awareness and start using the comparison to compare ourselves. That is the only time we start feeling better about ourselves. So same thing I did with my friend. I quickly reminded myself of that. I was like, he's my friend, he's good. And I started smiling. And I looked at him. He's like, why are you smiling? I'm like, I gotta tell you something. He's like, what? I was like, when you start telling me about these things, and I told him all this stuff, that my ears start getting red, my heart start pumping. But I got to tell you something, that I love you, that you're my brother. I'm so happy for you. Once as he started laughing, we both started laughing. I'm like, yeah, I got jealous there for a second because the thought there, I wasn't jealous, but the thought was there. So I wanted to disclose that to you. So I said that to him. I mean, not everyone, I don't know, everyone talks differently. I'm very open when it comes to conversation. So I literally expressed my feelings to him and we both start laughing. And then he understood what I meant. And then, but there was no comparison because I have my successes and he had his own successes. So it's just a matter of separating the thought. The thought coming is not a problem. That's going to come regardless. I still do. I mean, I meet so many people. Like I met so many people, like so many successful people. It still comes in like somewhere the brain analyzing, but we must bring it back. We must tell it to focus back in self. And that's where all the philosophers, all the wise men in the past, they have talked about the same thing, like self-discovery, self-image. And that is the only place where comparison makes sense. If we compare ourselves to ourselves, versus comparing ourselves to other people, because that only brings us, negative consequences. That brings us depression. That brings us stress. We must realize all the blessings that we have, that we are unique. We must find our strengths and weaknesses. We must follow our success route, whatever works for us, and not be consistently, because in this, if we consistently compare ourselves with others, there's never going to be happiness, because there's always going to be people ahead of us and they are. I mean, I get into this field, the further I go, the more I realize that I know nothing. Like I have to learn so much more. I was rather better off when I didn't know anything, so I started learning, and then I started realizing that I don't know nothing. Like literally it's an ocean and I don't even have a drop of it. So there's always going to be people ahead of us. And then there are people in much worse condition, but we can, because we all go in cycles. It's like there's no straight trajectory. One person might be doing good and then doing bad, and sometimes it can go over generations, might not be in one person's life. So we must look at the things in that perspective, not compare ourselves, not look at that and feeling happy just because someone is not doing well. That means we are not their friend, right? I mean, we must be happy about them, right? So it reminded me of this one incident. Diogenes, he was a philosopher, and these two friends went to him, and so he asked, he was like, "What are you guys doing?" And they were like, "We are here to get some education from you, some knowledge from you." And he looked at them. He's like, "But both of them are," and such. One guy was extremely rich, and the other guy was extremely poor. So he asked him. He's like, "Who are you guys? Like, how are you guys together?" So the rich guy said, "I'm his friend." So he started laughing. Diogenes says he started laughing. He was like, "How can you be friend? Because your friend is extremely poor and you're extremely rich. If you guys were friends, things would have been a little bit better." So I cannot be, if I'm not happy for my friend, if I'm not happy for my cousins, if I'm not happy for my peers, then, it's not them. It's there's something wrong with me, because at the end of the day, it's not going to cause anyone else problem. It causes me problems. It causes me jealousy. It causes me negative feelings. It causes me, and then we take it out on places, we take where we're not supposed to be, and we start hating ourselves, and when there's no comparison.